We are back at it, folks. Another week, another What the F happened. And we were just talking offline about all the stuff that's happening. It's kind of hard to focus on any one thing. I mean, there is just so much happening every single day. What do you focus on? I mean, well, definitely want to focus today on Trump going over in dealing, talking to the Saudi prince and dealing with the Saudi Arabia and striking a big deal. That could be huge. We're going to talk about that. One of the main topics on that particular one is peace by oil barrel, not by the barrel of a gun. Could we see peace in the Middle East? Well, that's one thing. Trump lifted sanctions over there in Syria. Trump's got deals with the UK. We've lifted some of the tariffs and some of the restrictions and some of the trade wars going on in China. Let's see more about that, but I think it's a bit early on that. It's a 90-day pause. But not only that, there is so much other news happening. I mean, what's going on in the bond market? We're going to hit that today and a whole bunch more. So stay tuned. I don't even know where to start and where to stop, but this is going to go by fast. It's going to be lightning round, I guess is what you would call it. So we'll be right back after this. All right, folks, we are back at it. Another week, another What the F happened. We are just inundated in information, in news, and all the stuff going on. I just seriously don't even know where to start. It's chaos to capital. It's capital to chaos. It's oil. It's dig, and it's drill, baby, drill. But is it really drill, baby, drill? Or are we talking about the Middle East, which is definitely going to be a highlight that we're going to focus on today? Sanctions being lifted over there in Syria, deals being struck with the UK, and some other deals being struck with China, which are resulting in some of this trade war being paused for 90 days. Backing off of these crazy tariffs, backing off of some of this crazy duties that are being thrown at us. Could we start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel? And what does that mean? Does that mean all is going to be well? Does that mean the markets are going to be rallying like they have been when the news heard of the deal with China? I mean, the markets shot up over 1,000 points. Some people are like, oh my God, I'm missing out. Are you though? What are you missing out on? A crazy ass roller coaster ride, if you ask me. So there is just so much to cover. Stephen and I got to really unpack a whole bunch of stuff. I've been here reading newsletter after newsletter, so many newsletters that literally my brain is melting because I don't even know where to start and I don't know where to stop. So Stephen, I'm going to kick this over to you. Let's kick off WTF. What are some of the top things you want to talk about this morning?
Yeah, I mean, politics have always been wild, and obviously the mainstream media and the back and forth with kind of the new media, as they call it, with some of these influencers and podcasters and Twitter, X users and things of that nature. It's just where do you start to understand like what is actually happening? Like, how do you actually try and decipher what is going on? What's the truth is? Because there's so much back and forth. There's so much, one-sided information coming out. I mean, just so many examples of it. So like, we hear about like this 747, for example, that Qatar is going to be gifting to the administration, the Trump administration. And
not if Schumer has anything to do with it.
Well, you hear one side of the argument, hey, it's a gift. It's, gifts don't come for free, even though it's, and they're giving it to Trump and this and that. And the other side's, well, it's not being given to Trump. It's being given to, for them to use. And then it's going to go to the Trump library before he ends being president. But, is this thing even going to be up and being used in the next couple of years because of the way it happens? And it's like, so on one hand, do we accept the $400 million gift and treat it as a gift, or does that come with strings attached? And when you listen to both sides, it's like, who do you believe? Because if we look at history, I mean, the mainstream media for the last 4.5 years told us that, Joe Biden was the most competent, smartest guy in America and the best president and was ready for a second term and all this stuff, right up until the point they ran him over with a bus and he wasn't any longer. And then today we hear those same people being, oh no, we were saying he had cognitive decline forever. But then you go back and you watch video after interview after interview of them standing up for him and covering for him and everything else. It's like, so you're either lying out of your mouth today or you're lying out of your mouth before, or both. And so it's like, if I don't believe you on that topic, how do I believe you on anything else that you say? And we saw that also with COVID. I mean, all the COVID misinformation and all the stuff with the vaccines and everything else out there. It's like, okay, who do we believe? Because we hear these people are like, oh no, we never wanted shutdowns. We never wanted schools to be closed. We never wanted to, end the Constitution, all this. But you go back and they literally did that. And it's like, so how do you decipher this information, Chris? It's just really daunting. It's become a difficult task, I will admit. So I don't know. So like you said, I know you read a lot of white papers on the financial side. I'm always trying to read through different extremes in the media and the different sources for news and try and figure out what is real. But it's becoming increasingly more difficult.
It is. And yeah, I read white papers, but when you're getting 5 new white papers every day because things are happening at light speed, it's almost impossible to keep up. So I've been trying to, keep up while on planes and reading white papers and news, but it's kind of like you said, what do you believe and what do you don't? And really, what do you even need to comprehend? I mean, really, I think the thing that most Americans need to understand is, how does this affect them? Are prices of goods going to come down? Is this all going to be good? Is the trade wars over? I mean, did we get what we wanted here in the United States? Or, so really, I think that's what it all boils down to. But hey, on what you were just saying, I'd be remiss not to talk about this white paper, and I'll share it with you all right now. But Mr. Obama. So Obama, there's been rumors, and I want to preface, these are rumors, but right here, Obama Vineyard Hideaway lists for $39 million amid divorce rumors. So I guess the Obamas have a Massachusetts property that they've used, in different summers starting in 2009. And reports right now are the family paid a staggering $50,000 a week to rent a boat. And I don't know. Are they having issues? Are the Obamas going to split? Is that what we're seeing? Does that even matter? That's the thing. I think that's the most important thing we need to decipher is what matters. Do we care if the Obamas divorce? No. Do we care if they sell their little hideaway for $39 million? No. How did they have the money to buy that hideaway in the first place? Last time I checked, the president's salary is what, Stephen? $200,000, $300,000? Obama can come into the office being a wealthy man, but holy shit, he's wealthy now. So how does that happen? And yet we're so concerned, or I should say Schumer's so concerned about a gift of a jet. It's quite the jet, $400 million jet. But I mean, is that really what we should focus on? Should we be focusing on some of the inside trading, the activities that have gone on with Pelosi, making her the single greatest stock picker of all time? I don't know. I mean, all these things and lots more, but let me just hit on a couple other things because we started on this. I want to talk about, this deal, the Saudi deal that Trump is over there, actually it's already done supposedly. So he was over in, dealing with the Saudi prince, and I'm trying to find the name. I get all these white papers, I read them, and I think it might just be easier if I just show this to you because it's so much information that I just can't memorize it all. Sincerely cannot memorize it all. But here you've got all of this stuff where they're talking about what he's doing. And, he's trying to end these endless Middle Eastern wars by making it so that everybody just makes money. And if everybody's making money, then there are no wars. That's at least what he's saying. He said, we have endless opportunities. And I agree. Like, listen, study the Middle East, study this, especially the what goes on in Dubai and Saudi Arabia and all that. I mean, it's oil. That's where their wealth comes from. Make no two ways about it. But they've taken their profits and they've literally invested in infrastructure. They've invested in making, I don't know, things that only dreams could have produced prior. I mean, Dubai is literally, it was built out of a desert. And look at it now. It's probably on most people's bucket list. It's sheerly amazing. So when we talk about this, Trump right here is praising Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Okay, he's got a huge initiative to diversify the Saudi economy. And what Trump is saying is he's reindustrializing America, calling the Crown Prince a visionary leader with courage to modernize. But all that aside, what was the deal? Well, it was a peace deal, but all deal, a deal to literally just bring the U.S. and the Middle East together, but not in ways that you might think, and really just business relationships. Trying to, just create business opportunities between the Middle East and the U.S. that are incredibly profitable. And I think that would be a really important thing. I remember when we were talking about the BRICS and Russia and all in China, when we were in the Biden era, and really, we were really quite concerned about that. We were concerned about them coming together and creating a currency that will take over for the dollar. We were worried about World War III, which, not saying that's off the table. We were worried about a lot of things, but with stuff like this happening, Saudi Arabia was a really, really important piece, or chess piece, I should say, in this overall plan. And it looks as though he has done it. He's struck a deal. They're going to invest significant monies. I think, it was kind of pledged that up to $1 trillion over the next 4 years. I think it's a little less than that, 600 billion or something like that. But hey, who's counting? Add a zero, take away a zero. But this whole article talked about that. And I did read this whole thing. But right here, this is the 5 things to watch for. Massive capital flows between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. Okay, infrastructure, AI, and energy, expanded Abraham Accord. And if any of you don't know what the Abraham Accord is, let me just read this to you, because this is an important thing. If we're expanding this, Abraham Accords are a series of normalization agreements between Israel and 4 Arab League member states: the United Arab Emirates, I don't even know how to say that, Bahrain, Monaco, and Sudan, and then now add Saudi Arabia to this. These agreements, brokered by the U.S. administration, aim to improve relations, promote economic cooperation, and foster a culture of peace and understanding in the Middle East. Who doesn't want peace in the Middle East? Because I certainly think that would be a great thing to accomplish. If nothing else, if that's the only thing we accomplished, that's a win. A pivot from defense to development, less military, less wars over in the Middle East. How long have we been fighting wars in the Middle East? And what are they over? Let's be honest, oil. So why don't we just come together and just make it profitable for everybody? I mean, the U.S. has a lot to offer the Middle East, and the Middle East has a lot to offer us, more so now than ever before. And you know what? We used to have relations. We used to offer protection to them in exchange for valuing oil in the U.S. dollar, the petrodollar. Let's see right here, potential resurrection of the petrodollar marriage. So what does that mean? Could we start to see more emphasis going back to gold-based dollar? I don't know, but hey, it's a start, and a harder line on Iran. So one other big thing that's being talked about, and it was in this article up here, but was more or less putting a hard line stop to Iran being a nuclear power, because ain't nobody wants that. That's for sure. I mean, Stephen, do you want Iran to have nukes? I certainly don't.
I don't think that would be a great idea. No,
I don't either. So that's where we're just going to start this off, is just talking about what happened over there. That is a huge victory. I know the markets were rallying, and if you watch the mainstream media, they were talking about the deal with the UK. But like, to be honest with you, like, that isn't going to move needles. Yeah, it's one little deal. What deal we need to see, and it's not done yet, is the deal with India. That is a deal I need to see. I need to know what this deal with China looks like, because it's very, very vague in what they've given us. Like, yes, we're pausing, we're bringing tariffs down, we're pausing it. And I haven't been able to unpack the entire, deal that we're striking with China. But nonetheless, the markets have done a much better job of unpacking it, because the markets rallied 1,000 points. If any of you know more about what happened with that, please indulge. We have been traveling nonstop, event after event. So we're a bit kind of, I guess, behind in the news, but I think everybody's behind in the news. You can't keep up with it. And I want to bring this back full circle to money in a second, and what this means to you, your family, and the cost of goods, as well as your 401ks. I want to wrap that is what we finish on. So stay tuned. But Stephen, what do you have to say about all this stuff with the Middle East and China and UK and all these deals that are being struck. Literally, I mean, how does the dude even get that many places?
Well, it goes back to what I was saying. It's like what do you listen to, and at what point do you actually start to really listen to it and believe? Because it was just a few weeks ago. When was Liberation Day, quote unquote Liberation Day? April 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been about a month and a half. When all the tariffs were released. And according to every single Democratic politician and every single mainstream news channel out there, the United States of America was done. We were going to crash and burn. Everybody was going to lose their jobs and houses, and the stock market was going to crash, and the money was all going to go away, and all hell was going to break loose, and the Constitution was over, and just it was, the world was going to end. And a month and a half later, the stock market's now higher than where it was on Liberation Day. And so it's like, is the sky falling, or is this just all rhetoric and BS? But again, on the other side, I mean, there's real implications to a lot of this stuff too. And so, we're high today, but is this going to last? Like, have we not seen the effects yet of what these tariffs are going to do? It's a 90-day pause. So what's going to come out of it? And so, quite honestly, Chris, I think the way to do this is to not even look at what we should start doing is looking at the news from like a month ago. So read the news from like a month ago and analyze it today after some time has passed, and all the what do you call it? All the not extremism, but all that like hype and everything, all that fades back down, and actually see what really happens. Because
let me show you what that looks like, Stephen, and you let me. I just have to share this because this is what the news from a month ago looks like. These are, just so you all know, pretty much everything in here you're going to see are just the white papers I get. Look at the dates. Let's see, a month ago. Let's get back to April. I ran out of pages, Stephen. We got to go back. Let's see, April. Here we go. So we got March. Here's all the newsletters that we've gotten. Okay, all these are newsletters. You can see here, Daily Reckoning, the Rude Awakening, Strategic Intelligence. These are all just newsletters. Notice all the ones that are bold. That means I haven't had time to get around to them. It's just insane how much is happening. I mean, I just don't know how anyone keeps track of it all. I feel bad for the people that have to draft these agreements, but it's heavy. So you can see I was really reading a whole bunch of them today. It was just hard for me to articulate all of it. We were talking about, I read about gold, the deportation, which I'm going to hit in a second, a bunch of stuff about military secrets that have been unleashed. So there's a lot to go through. I mean, or you can just watch the news and you're going to actually learn absolutely nothing. I mean, the news has had this is the funny thing. So here's CNBC. Nothing that I have seen in those newsletters has appeared in the news, at least of relevance. I mean, there's been talks about it right here. China got mutual respect if it craves from the U.S., but the trauma for business is real. So they're talking about the tariffs. Everything every day is, S&P 500 rises, blah, 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 blah. Trump meets with Syrian leaders in Saudi Arabia. Yes, and they lifted the sanctions on Syria. He even called the guy attractive. That's kind of a Trump thing, right? He always says, you're a shockingly good-looking guy. You're an attractive guy. I don't know where that comes from, but whatever. But the news just doesn't have anything good.
I'll tell you a couple things that are weighing on me right now, Chris. AI and robots. So I don't know if you saw the latest from Tesla. So, Elon Musk jokes around, we're just a car company, right? Right here, Tesla, we're a car company, right? And Elon retweets that. But I mean, if you look at this, it's hard to imagine a person not wanting his or her own personal humanoid robot. There's over 8 billion people on Earth today. It's also hard to imagine a business not wanting its own humanoid robot doing useful things. And there are over 360 million business. I mean, Chris, imagine having one of these at your office every day.
I'm just trying to hire an executive assistant here. We have now gone through like 8. Well, we've kind of gone through about 40 different resumes, boiled it down to 8. And I just did an interview last week. She still hasn't even called back. It's like impossible just to hire someone right now. So
watch this, though. Just watch this real fast. I mean, this is unbelievable.
Maybe got moved. Are you sure this isn't AI?
I mean, it reminds me of my dad on the dance floor, but it's one of those things.
I can't dance like that.
It's unbelievable, man. I mean, imagine that thing working for you 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, never complaining, never taking a break, doing whatever you need, cleaning bathrooms, writing things, running errands, like doing all the stuff. I mean, the cars drive themselves as well. So this thing could hop in a vehicle and go to the post office for you or ship things or whatever you need. But here's where it gets scary. So that's the actual side of what is, physically possible. So then we look at, okay, well, what is AI doing? Like, how are these robots powered? And we get articles like this. AI research takes a back seat to profits as Silicon Valley prioritizes products over safety, experts say. So they're unleashing all this AI technology with these robots that are like superhumans that don't ever need to take a break except maybe to charge up. And I'm sure solar powered robots are going to be next, where they never have to stop. So it's like, I mean, fill those things full of a bunch of AI that has no safety protocols. And how quickly does this spiral out of control, Chris?
Extremely quick.
I don't know, man. It's pretty wild, though, right?
And it's just, I don't really have anything I can say on that at this present point. Outside of, everybody should really go back in their archives and watch Terminator 2 before you start thinking this is the answer, that we need robots, that we need, AI to take over. Listen, it's hard to not think that is a viable solution when, you can't even find just, it's so difficult to hire people right now. And then even when you hire people, you have to take so much time just to hire smart, because once you hire somebody, there's so many laws that prevent you from firing them. You can't just get rid of an employee the way that, I think a business owner should, because there's so many protections. So it's just kind of like, I've been very hesitant to hire, even though we need this, we need an assistant here. I've been so hesitant to hire because, like, what if you get what in the interview, what if they just tell you everything they want? What if their whole resume was done by AI? What if, when they start, they're not what you wanted and you want to fire them fast? Can you actually fire fast? There's so many things that go through my head. And then deep down inside, I'm like, do I even hire anybody? Why don't I just keep suffering and just go through the hell that I go through? Just do it myself. Man, oh man, I really wish I could tell every person that you interview, like, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to have you sign an NDA, and then I'm going to have you spend a week here, and I'll pay you for that week that you spend here. And what I want you to do is I want you to watch what we do. I want you to pay close attention, and this would be all based on a resume. And then I want you to tell me what you can do to fix our problems. And if they can articulate what they feel with their expertise they can bring to the table to solve our problems, then that's your hire. But how difficult is it to do that? Can you even do that? Up to $600 you could, because you can pay somebody $600, 1099, before all of a sudden you got to start really thinking about, are they an employee and how does this work? Dude, it's just, I don't know. These are just my struggles. These are the things I'm struggling with. So when you show me a robot that can do TikTok dances, it's kind of stupid that's like what they're emphasizing, is that the robot can freaking dance. Who cares? Can the robot make business more efficient? I would say probably, but at what cost? You always got to ask, at what cost? Yep. I don't know. Talk about real quick. Let's move over. Let me find my article here about deportation. So as we all know, like, we had a little bit of an illegal immigration problem. A lot of bad people came into the country. There's even still to today, I'll put it this way. I live in a really safe neighborhood, or at least I like to think it's a safe neighborhood, but there has been more car thefts in my neighborhood. There's been, crime in this tiny little town called Clarence, and a lot of the crime, I hate to say it this way, has been like just not people that live here. And I'm trying to say this as nice as I can, but it's just like, I don't leave my cars outside. I don't feel comfortable with that. I have to lock my doors. I have an alarm on freaking everything. Alarm on the business, alarm on the garages in the back, alarm on my house. Like, I feel like I'm in prison because everything has to be so secured. We had to call the cops a couple weeks ago because we had this car that just kept stopping in front of our house, staring at it. My wife took video surveillance of this person. Stephen, here's a funny thing. Little did I know. So the one day that car was there again and staring at it, my wife took a photo. I happened to be around the corner at Hector's Hardware. I got in my car, zoomed over. I actually saw the vehicle as I was coming into our neighborhood. I spun my car around. I started following him. He knew that we kind of had like this little chase going on down Main Street. And then he knew I was following him. So he turns into this place, this farmer's market. I turn around and then he turns around, spins around, tell me that's not like showing there's a problem. I start following him. Cops are on the phone. They're like, stop following him. I'm like, what do you guys? And I'm literally arguing with the police. I'm like, are you going to pull these plates? I gave you the plate number. Are you going to tell me who this is? Are you going to visit them? Are you going to find out why this person keeps stopping in front of our house, staring in our windows? No, they're not. Okay, so why should I stop following this person? Because now all of a sudden I'm the one like breaking law because I want to know where this person lives. I want to know who this person is. Like, it's an uneasy feeling. I'm going down a rabbit hole here, but like, does anyone really feel safe right now? But yet, the whole thing I was kind of building up to with that has nothing to do with immigration or that, but it's just, there's just more crime. There's more people that don't feel safe right now. And one of the things that's happening is, yes, we want to get rid of the illegals, the bad people. We want to send them back, where they came from, but it's being stopped. Did you know that, Stephen? All of the stuff is literally being stopped by attorneys. There's a massive thing right now where it's basically being called unconstitutional. It's being called illegal. The district courts are stopping like the courts from proceeding and deporting people. They're glorifying, some of these people that got, like that one guy that got sent over there that wasn't supposed to be, and they talking about his family, but he was definitely part of that gang. I mean, I don't care what anyone says. So all of this stuff that's going on, it's like you've got a president who was elected. Okay, you've got the Supreme Courts who got to make some decisions here on whether or not these district courts, largely run by Democrats, whether that's important to know or not, doesn't make a difference. They're just stopping all of this. Like, they're not allowing the president to be the president. And I don't know. Again, this is just more useless information, but all this stuff just comes down to what do you believe and what don't you? And can anything even get done by the president of the United States of America? All these deals are getting signed, but are they going to be stopped? Everything else seems to get stopped in the courts. What are your thoughts?
Wow.
And I read all these articles, and that's what they're about. I read an entire giant white paper all about how, the district courts have so much power right now. And until something happens, like the Supreme Court steps in and does something about this, nothing's going to change.
Yeah, the Supreme Court definitely needs to take on some of these cases. I mean, but you look back to Obama even. I mean, he deported 5.3 million people over
more than any other president.
Yeah, and there was no outrage and all the, that's what I'm saying. Just everything's so polarized right now that no matter, like, Trump could literally say, I'm going to cure cancer, and people would talk shit about it. It's so insane.
Here we go. I'll show you the article. So here, try to find it. 3 solutions. So I'll just read these. I know we're all over the place, folks, but please understand from our standpoint, like what this show's all about. It's about reporting, what's going on, that ranting, raving, and arguing about what's going on in the news. But there's so much in the news. It's like it's almost impossible to know how to bring it all together. And, I'm reading some of the comments. We got one here on Instagram that says, that's how we know what judges, attorneys are corrupt. Need to cleanse them out before real justice can be served down the road. When we, sorry, I got to put my damn glasses on for everything. When we find out what government employees were on the take, and how true is that right here? This whole article, okay, this whole white paper called The Daily Reckoning is all about nuclear deportation options, but it's talking about how every single thing that Trump's doing, trying to deport these criminals and terrorists, is being stopped. The obstacle right here, the courts. So it's just talking about how courts that were judges that were primarily put in place by Biden and Obama, and they don't care about the bad that these people do. That it's just all a game. But here's the solutions. To get down here, right here, three solutions to the problem. Number one, the Supreme Court has to issue a definitive ruling that the district courts cannot issue nationwide injunctions, and they can only issue orders for the plaintiffs in the case that are not entire class of illegal. Anyway, whatever they're saying, ignore the courts and proceed as planned. That's sort of what Trump is doing, just ignoring the courts and just pushing on. But that's going to scream unconstitutional, because that's exactly that's happening. Or the third, abolish district courts. Like literally, those are the three things on the table that have to happen before anything's ever going to get done. Man, it's just so difficult right now to decipher right from wrong, to decipher what's best and what's not. I don't know, Stephen. Let's go over to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one other good example just of the economy and jobs. I mean, this just came out this week. Labor Department admits hundreds of thousands of jobs were fake. So if you look at the third quarter of last year, leading up to the election, so the report from September of last year, the administration came out and said there was 400,000 new jobs between July and September. But the new data suggests that none of those jobs ever existed. And it was just constant gaslighting, like just all lies. And we saw that a lot throughout the Biden administration, where they would release these jobs numbers, and then, several quarters later, they'd revise them way down. But to claim 400,000 new jobs, and new numbers show a decline of 1,000 jobs, actually, like that's a massive difference. And for that to come from, the top, it's like, where do you go? Like, it's crazy.
Well, I mean, there's all these executive orders that Trump is signing in place, to reduce the price of prescription drugs in the U.S., because prescription drugs are so much more expensive here than anywhere else in the world, and they're all made by the same. So a drug made by the same manufacturer costs sometimes 10 times as much. I think it was actually 30 times as much here in the United States as they do overseas. And then when these drug makers are asked why that is, they say research and development. No, you know what it is? It's lobbyists. It's paying people off. That's what it is. It is not research and development. The drug's already done. The research and development would apply here in the States as well as overseas. If you're selling the same damn drug, but it's cheaper everywhere else, why? Well, because you're paying people off. That's why. And I read a whole article on that. That pissed me off.
Well, here's another thing with that, Chris, is okay. So, and they gave an example. I think they're using Ozempic. Trump came out and called it the fat shot or whatever. He's talking about a friend of his that took it. But it's like, I forget the exact numbers, but I think he said in the U.S., the guy pays $3,000 for the drug. And where he was overseas, he paid like $80. So it's like $3,000 here versus $80 in other countries. And almost every single drug and medication is like that across the world. And so, Trump said, hey, this isn't right. We're paying for all this, research and development, the creating the drugs and everything. And Americans are footing the bill where the rest of the world is taking advantage of it. So, let's fix that, which you can't argue with that at all. I 100% agree with that completely. But here's the problem. The way that Trump is going about it is basically price controls, because he's basically saying, hey, listen, like, we're going to limit what you can pay in the U.S. compared to what you pay other places. Look at history, Chris. Price controls are not the way that a free market operates. It's not the way that the government. So even things that sometimes Trump does that are right, the approach for them, might not align with some of the values of a conservative party or a free market in the United States of America. So things like that kind of tend to be like, all right, well, what is going on? You know what I mean? And I will say this, the other thing, Chris, just kind of on the markets and where to look. I saw this statistic this week come out, and this was very relevant for what we're doing right now with some of our webinars later today. So let me just pull this up real quick. So I just saw this come out from Bloomberg. Americans fall behind on car payments. The percentage of borrowers at least 60 days late on their car payments is at the highest ever on record, ever recorded right now.
I just did a YouTube video about that. It'll be coming out in the next week or two. Dude, it's not, Stephen, it's not just car debt or car loans. It's credit card loans. It's mortgages. Dude, you're not hearing about any of this in the news. Folks, you want to see where the problem is, and I'm going to show you something in a second, but this is what you start looking at. The fact that, and also leading indicators, we just did PMC's Money Tank out in Dallas, and we were talking about how UPS just laid 20,000 people off. Like, when you want to know where the economy is going and where the markets are going, just look at leading indicators. These are leading indicators. People are struggling. Okay, I don't care that inflation is down to 2.3 and everybody's rah-rahing and the stock market's rallying over all these things. People are having a hard time paying for fucking groceries. Groceries. People are financing groceries. Let that sink in. And then, you know, the stock market is so disconnected from reality that it's not even worth looking at it. If you're putting in the stock market, you literally need to go and get you need to get examined. Like, it's stupid. Unless you're a trader. If you're a trader, game on. The volatility in the markets is definitely making it so that you can make a lot of money if you're a trader. If you're not a trader, if you're just putting money away for your children's college education or your retirement and all this, and you think because the markets are going up and these trade deals and all this stuff, like the markets are going to rally, we still haven't gone through the hell we're going to go through. Those stats right there, car delinquencies, credit card delinquencies and defaults, mortgage delinquencies and defaults, all of this is going to come to a head. It's all going to come to a head because when people can't afford groceries, okay, do you think they give a shit about paying their car payment or their credit card payment? You're just not hearing about it yet. If you're not following my YouTube channel and not just mine, there's a bunch of other YouTube channels giving the same data, but the data is there. You can look it up. It's Fred. You can go to FRED. You can look at all the data that we look at. The numbers don't lie. The defaults are real. The delinquencies are even realer. We are setting records for defaults and delinquencies, and it's only going to get worse. I know the president and all these things, you know, are all working toward it. But even the president and anyone in politics right now will tell you we got a lot of pain to go through to get to the other side. And that is what's going to happen. So just be careful, folks. That's all I can say. And also, if any of you are driving in those I don't know, self-driving taxis, Waymo, they just recalled 1,200 of them because they're having car crashes. So you won't be seeing me in one of those self-driving vehicles. No way. No can do. Stephen, I'm sure we'll be driving around in them.
Well, Chris, I mean, on the economy, I mean, so we're seeing it, you know, every day. So people are falling behind. People are hurting right now. We're seeing this in our business every day. You know, one of the things that we do a lot of is obviously the infinite banking concept with especially designed whole life policies. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of my clients right now, they're struggling to keep these going. And it's not that the system is not working for them and the concept's not working for them. Their lives, their businesses, their incomes are failing them because things are changing right now. And we're seeing this. See, we kind of live and die by the sword, Chris. And I was thinking this last night a little bit. You know, one of our clients kind of fall into two different groups. We have people that come to us because they understand there's something better out there, but foundationally, they're strong financially. So they have strong jobs, they have strong incomes, they have strong net worths, and they're doing something because this is what wealthy people do. Wealthy people use what we have to create wealth, to create legacies, to create protection, to create tax benefits, to create everything that we teach. And that's a solid part of our clientele. The other half of our clientele, however, are people that are hustlers. They're real estate investors. They're new entrepreneurs. They're people that know there's a better way out there and they're out there making it happen. Those are the ones that are at the highest risk when the market turns for their businesses to fail because they don't have that solid foundation quite yet. And so we're seeing in that group of people, those hustlers, those investors, those new entrepreneurs, we're seeing them struggle financially right now. And I saw this exact same thing happen in 2007, leading up into 2008 when we saw the last crash. Those hustlers, those are the people that really got hurt. Now, the strong financial, the high net worth, the wealthy people, they'll be fine. The stock market is not the economy. The stock market's doing great. The stock market will probably continue to do great. Even if it pulls back, it's not going to affect those people because they're not going to realize those losses in most cases. But those that over here that are panicking, that have to sell because they need the cash, whatever the case is, those are the ones that are struggling. So what I'll say to that group of people, and if that's you, if that's something you're worried about right now, or maybe you're just kind of, you've never really gotten over to this side yet, but you're almost there. Right now is the time to really tighten down and understand your money. Understand where your debt is, understand your cash flow, understand what you really have working for you. And we're going to talk about that actually today on Wealth Webinar. So at 1 p.m. Eastern, join myself and Mr. Freak in the Sheets, Craig Yenny. We're going to go in deep on that concept right there. How we can understand what our money is, where our net worth, how we can be prepared for what is coming. So we're not one of those people that loses our policies. We're not one of those people that loses our homes, loses our cars, loses our financial ability to maintain our lifestyles. And so join us at 1 p.m. today for that, because it's going to be very, very important going into the rest of this year. Because like you said, Chris, I'm worried that what we see right now with things bouncing back and everything's looking good, they're hiding the real numbers. They're hiding the real data right now, and it's coming, whether we want to admit it or not.
Well, I mean, listen, like the administration has said it's coming. They've just not said it they're not like, jump in the bunkers. The recession's here. It's going to hit. No, they're telling you. They have been telling you, but yet I'll just give a real life example. I was talking to somebody, and I can't use their name, but I was talking to somebody locally, and they were just telling me, that they're still investing in the stock market. They still think it's going to continue to go up and up and up. And I said, what makes you think that? And they said, well, because, and they were talking about the trade deals, and they were just talking about all the things. I said, what? No. And then I asked them, I just said, what is going to drive the market higher other than speculation? They literally couldn't answer it. I asked a couple more questions, and I didn't want to be that guy, but they couldn't answer anything. It was 1,000% based on speculation. And one of the main reasons this person was taking the risk that they were to invest in the market is because they're behind. They're behind for retirement. And they think that the answer is to take more risk to get ahead. Now, I get it. I do. But is there a right and a wrong time to take risk? Can I just share something with you? And I've gotten beat up on this one topic probably more than anything else. And I still don't understand it, but I just don't even talk about it anymore because I'm just so sick of hearing about it. This is a chart. And I know, folks, nobody likes looking at charts, but this is the thing I've always been talking about, long-term Treasury bonds. And I just pulled up an ETF. This is not financial advice. I'm not making recommendations. I own this. I own a lot of this, and I keep buying it. I just want to talk about the drastic differences in the way that the sentiment with investing. I have always been taught, and through all the stuff that I've read, whether it's Warren Buffett's books, fundamentals matter. Okay. The balance sheet matters. Now, Stephen and anybody on my team, they know I'm literally, I know Craig's a freak in the sheets, but what I'm a freak in the reports, man. I'm a freak in the financial reports. I'm studying the profit and loss. I'm studying cash flow reports. I'm studying the balance sheet. These are the things that I look at. And when I'm looking at another company, those would be the things I would be looking at. So fundamentals matter, but also it's not hard to understand what Warren Buffett says: buy low, sell high, and don't lose money. So what have I been doing? Well, I've been doing, I guess, what everybody else is not doing. And I've been buying this right here, TLT and several other treasury bonds, but I'm just buying these. And all I got here is I want you to look. I got a 5-year chart looking at it from a 1 week, and we could change 1 week and go 1 month, but it's just easier for me to show it from a weekly. And all I want you to do, I drew some lines here. So right here, if we go back 5 years ago, that puts us back right after the pandemic. You remember what happened during the pandemic? During the pandemic, what did the Fed do to interest rates? They dropped them. They pulled them down. They lowered them. And what happened to the price of treasury bonds? They skyrocketed. Okay. The price went up. The yield went down. You must understand it's an inverse relationship. So that's where we're at. Now, if I just put that number, that's $117. And that's not even the high point. That's just the 5-year high point. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to get back here anytime soon, but could we get here? So let's look at this. This one's very real. So this one's $105. $105, and we were there back in May of 2023. And then I want you to look at what happened here. See how the price of this went way down, got down to as low as $83. And just so you all know, it's sitting at $85 and down today. Okay, it's at 85. The lowest point in 5 years was roughly this point right here, and it only touched it for a second. About 82.42 was the low, but I'll just call it $83. Okay, that was the lowest point ever. And when did that happen? 2023. What was happening in 2023? Stephen, what was the big thing we were fighting in 2023, and how did the Fed react?
Yeah, inflation is still going on, right?
Inflation was nutty.
Yeah.
Approached 9%. And what did the Fed do to combat inflation?
They raised rates.
And look at this period of time from right here to right here. I just want you to look at that. That was the Fed raising interest rates, which drove the price down to this 5-year low of $82. Then after that, we had some bumps, okay, some ups and downs. Okay, the Fed started easing off of the rate increases. They kind of pulled back a little bit, and you saw some movement here, which brings us just to where we're at today. So where we're at today is a very interesting place with Treasury bonds, but nonetheless, we are sitting at $85. To me, this is a massive, massive value. To buy this at $85 is honestly just fundamentally makes every bit of sense in the world, unless, and I've heard this, someone says, oh, nobody wants Treasury bonds because of the U.S. deficit. Nobody's going to believe in the U.S. Well, the U.S. just signed a deal with Saudi Arabia. They're investing hundreds of billions of dollars in the U.S. They kind of pledged $1 trillion. So we've got, China, whatever more is going to come out on that. But China, like in the U.S., are talking. Thank gosh. The trade wars are at the present time paused, and they're working through it. Deals with UK. We've got ceasefires going on. We've got all sorts of good things happening, which all points to a better future. At least we like to think that it points to a better future. So the United States of America isn't going anywhere. Russia's not going to take over as being the dominant, currency that trades. The BRICS aren't going to take over and be the dominant currency and take over the dollar. And the U.S. deficit compared to the China deficit is nothing. China is way worse off. I had somebody arguing with me about that the other day saying, oh, China is way better off than the U.S. That's because China doesn't report the real numbers because they're a communist nation. Like they don't report any of the real numbers. So you have to really dig deep to understand China's in fucking trouble. Without the United States of America, China is done. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you know. Like if we get the deal with India, which it sounds like there's a deal on the table that they're working through, a trade deal with India. India, just so you all know, is the third largest economy. You got US, China, India. Okay. So that matters. And if we can kind of get something going on with China and all this other stuff going on, do you think the U.S. is going to be the place where people want to invest? Well, Saudi Arabia certainly thinks that way. So if they think that the U.S. is a place to invest, why wouldn't I want to invest my money in the United States? Okay, in debt. And that's treasuries. So buying low basically tells me one thing. I've got the opportunity to at least get up to here, $92, because I'm looking at support and resistance levels. 99 is very likely. Look at all this. $99, that's fucking walk in the park. This one's a walk in the park too, $1.05. And up here, if I go back even further than 5 years, if I were to go to 15 years, and we were to look at that, this is the highest point right here, okay, 2020. Now, is it likely we're going to get there? I don't know, but is it likely we're going to get right about here? $1.35? Yeah, 15 years says that's really likely. But if I want to even get more secure, $1.21. Are we going to get there? Well, I don't know. We were there back in 2013. We were there in 2015. We were there in 2016, 2017, 2018. We were there again in 2022. Can we get back to where that is? Between, $1.19 and $1.30 something, wherever in this range? Hell yeah, we can. Okay, so please help me understand the mathematics behind this. In order to get to those prices, the only thing that has to happen is the Fed has to decrease and lower rates. Yep, that's what's got to happen. The Fed's got to drop rates. Is the Fed going to drop rates this year? Yep, they've already said they are. They didn't do it this last time. They might not do it next time, but they're expecting 2 rate cuts this year. And in 2026, that's when the bottom, I think, is going to fall out. That's when we're going to probably have the recession, and the Fed will drop interest rates. So the likeliness of that happening is really strong. Okay, it is speculative, but it can't go up. They're not going to raise interest rates. We're almost at the Fed's target. We're at 2.3. The Fed's target was 2. So what are they going to do? Ease off interest rates. That's what they're going to do. And when they do that, the price of the Treasury bonds are going to go up. Because why? Because that's just what happens. And it's happened every other period of time in history. So then do the math. If you were to buy Treasury bonds at $85 or $90 and they went to $1.20, what's your return? What if they went to $1.30? What's your return? Pretty good, right? And what is the likeliness of that happening? Extremely high. So am I going to put money in Nvidia and Apple and all these companies, which probably have more of a chance of going down than they do going up? Does that make sense? I don't know. I guess there's a lot of crazies going around there. Sorry about the rant, but like seriously, like so much of this stuff just comes down to logic. Why wouldn't you understand that? It's not complicated. I've done probably 7 YouTube videos explaining it, and your financial advisor, damn it, should understand that and be telling you that the risk right now is not worth the return. So take the high ground, take the safe ground, find a place to park money in a safe place because you know you're getting paid for it. Treasury bonds are paying like 4.5% right now. Sign my ass up.
Yeah. And when shit hits the fan, I mean, that's what that's what the Fed does. They cut rates to try and boost everything back up again. I mean, it's coming. Might as well take advantage of it, right?
This just in, and this kind of hits on the earlier, the U.S. is reaffirming its role as the Gulf's main security ally, even as it faces competition from China and Russia. That just came in. And that's probably in relation to the Saudi Arabia stuff.
This was interesting coming from Justin Streeper, who we just met in Dallas for the first time. What's up, Justin? Or I guess again, actually, we met you at the last one. But all right, so Caterpillar, like the the big dozers, big bulldozers, and whatnot. The non-union workers, Caterpillar stopped contributing to their 401ks, and there was no pay raise this year. They just found out on Saturday. So you're starting to see some of these companies do more and more things.
All of them are slowing down
as well. Yep.
I mean, you might see some earnings come out positively and some, companies posting positive returns, but like, look at the sectors, look at the industries they're in. The leading indicators, like what Justin's mentioning, and like UPS and, the logistic companies, they're struggling. Airlines are struggling right now too. Wouldn't know it if you go to the freaking airport, man. Every airline, every airport is packed. What else we got, Stephen?
Let's see, in these last few minutes here.
I'm just reading some of the notes. I want to go to the audience here.
Yeah, was there anything coming in on Instagram?
Not recently. No, we hit the ones from Instagram earlier. It was very active earlier. Just talking about medical insurance scams and partnerships with big pharma.
We might need to start streaming on TikTok again, just to so we get some fights. That was kind of fun.
People want me to argue with people. Yeah, that was fun. I sometimes need a break from that, though. I love this Dex's comment here about China. So who's going to be buying all those Tesla robots and all the robots? China, because they have an aging population. They could only be rivaled by Japan. And look what happened to Japan. Like China, I don't know how long ago, a decade ago, or maybe even longer, made it, so that women could only have one child, and that stunted their demographics. So now as a growing country, a growing world power, they need to grow their economy. They need to grow their GDP, which takes a workforce. And, just like every other developing nation, the workforce in China has evolved. They're getting paid more, although not much because it is communist. Okay. But they're getting paid more than they were then. And there's not enough of them. The younger generations are not enough to support the aging out demographics, just like the United States of America. But the one thing the U.S. has that China does not is immigration. People still want to move to the United States of America, the land of the free, the land of opportunity. Legal immigration is the best thing that the United States has to control our demographic problems. Because if you just leave it to, Americans, we're failing that battle as well. We're not popping out enough kids. I couldn't believe it in Dallas at our event. I just asked everybody, how many of you have kids? All the hands went up. And I said, how many of you are planning on having more kids? 1 out of over 100 people's hands went up. 1. So demographics are a real thing. Read The End of the World is Just the Beginning. It's a book on geopolitics, but you will learn exactly why China is doomed. But the robots, well, they could save the problem in China. Scary thought there.
I saw an interesting kind of story about NVIDIA the other day. And NVIDIA is a super interesting stock. I mean, it's I don't think anything's really competed with the gains it's had over the last couple of years, except maybe like Bitcoin or something. But if you look at NVIDIA, I mean, they were down in the 20s a couple of years ago, and I mean, stocks are up at 123 today. I mean, that's
Crazy company.
$132. I mean, that's a huge gain. But NVIDIA is very controversial though, because they put out these chips that are required for all the AI processing and all of that. Of course, the competition over in China and Taiwan is constant. Who's got the better chips, and all of a sudden China will come out with a chip and NVIDIA stock will come down, and kind of this back and forth. And so one of the arguments has been is, hey, let's invest more into American chips and kind of build more companies in the US that can build these chips and start decreasing our reliance on China and Taiwan and everything overseas, just in case stuff goes bad. And I heard an argument this week, probably from NVIDIA, because they want the money, but it was like, hey, instead of putting all this money into all these new startups and all these other chip companies, let's just choose NVIDIA to be the company, dump all our money into that. And if we can do things fast enough, NVIDIA can create new chips quicker than China and Taiwan can copy them and put out new technology themselves. Because that's what happens a lot with a lot of these Chinese companies. They just steal American IP. And I guess in the chip industry, these chips, the technology changes so quickly, it's hard to keep up with it. So NVIDIA was like, hey, just give us all the money. Let us just keep putting out more and more better products, and we'll stay ahead of the competition that way. So just thought it was an interesting kind of argument.
And right here, Chris Ash just made me feel really old. Remember a second ago, I said, the 1-child rule in China, and I said that was over a decade ago. Feels like it was over a decade ago, but it was actually back in the late 70s, early 80s. but it is actually important to understand that, because like, if you think late 70s, I was born in 77, like the people right now that are in those positions that are running companies would be this generation. And, obviously I know that they went off of the one policy, but there's still people in China are still reluctant to have more children. It's just expensive, that, it's just very tightly packed in China. So like that problem isn't gone, and you can't fix it. So they're definitely doomed from a demographic standpoint. They just don't have the workforce anymore. And that problem will not be fixed probably inside of a 20-year period, minimum 10-year period. But they would have to, I think what should be done is, I think countries really should incentivize women to have children, like give them a check, like find ways to make it, it beneficial to have children. Because if you're talking about growth of a nation, India's got that right. I mean, they're popping kids out left and right over there, so they don't have a demographic problem. I want to finish with this one last thing, Stephen, because I know we're over time, but I told everybody I would kind of show this.
Yeah, and while you're doing that, just real fast, hey, Chris Ash, go Cats tonight, baby. Game 5. Anyways, he's a Toronto.
This is another white paper that came in. It was basically a lot of analytics, but it was basically just showing that the probability of a larger 12-month plus crash in stocks or a smaller 3-month, the dark blue. So this is kind of just a metric used to just analyze risk. And you can see what happened in 2008. You can see all the other periods of time, but look at where we're at right here. So you can see the problems in the charts and everything else. And that's what he's basically saying. You can read these articles. The 78% NASDAQ crash was the first major stock bubble since 1929 to 32. And I'm expecting this to be the final and largest bubble crash of our time. So he's basically just showing, like, these charts are showing what's about to happen. So folks, I had mentioned what's this mean for you, for your pocketbook, for your 401k. Right now, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. Be very cautious with taking risk. Do your due diligence. Invest in things you know, like, and understand. And for crying out loud, pay yourself first. Start saving money. And you got to get rid of debt. You got to stop relying on debt. You got to stop thinking debt is the way. I can't believe it. I went out last night and met a friend, and he was just telling me he's looking to lease a vehicle, and he's doing it for reasons he knows he can get all the money back. But, he's talking about how much vehicles lease for. I had no idea how much leases were these days. Well, it's largely due to the higher interest rate environment and the cost of cars and how high they are. I mean, you can go out, you can't even lease like a Jeep Wrangler for under like $800. A Ford Bronco, like the nicer ones, he was saying, were like $900 a month. That's pure insanity. I mean, do we really, really need the new car right now? Those are the questions you got to ask. Or I think you really should be asking yourself, why don't you just buy the car with your own private banking system and get all the money back for every car you ever buy, drive, and own? That seems like a logical explanation to me, but I don't know. I guess that doesn't make sense to the majority of the people out there that don't want to learn a new way to get all the money back. So they just keep doing it the old way and just keep giving money to the institutions and the banks. Well, let me know how that works out. Yep, and push gifts. Don't ever.
Yeah, they must have been in Dallas listening to your story.
Yeah, the push gifts. All right, Stephen, you want to bring us home on this one?
Yeah, man. I mean, go whoever your hockey team is. NBA playoffs in full swing. My advice today is anything you hear in the news, just wait a few days, wait a few weeks, see what really comes out. Let's stop with the panic and the constant fighting. I mean, you open up social media right now and it's just constant political stuff from one side to the other. And the comments are just people arguing with each other. None of that is productive. It's all a waste of energy. Let's focus on things that really matter in our lives, our families, our businesses, our travel, our experiences. Let's go out there and have fun. I mean, last week in Dallas, and those of you that missed it, Private Money Club holds an event twice a year called the Money Tank. And it's where a group of real estate investors and people that are learning about real estate, private money lenders, people that are just looking to, be smarter when it comes to investing and controlling their wealth. We get together. We had about 120, 130 people together in Dallas last week for a couple days, all learning together, having a great time together, all different walks of life from all different parts of the country, from Florida to California and everything in between. I mean, it's experiences like that are going to make us better human beings. So let's focus on the things that matter. Let's focus on each other. And Chris, I'll say to you, safe travels this week going out, leaving the country. We'll be holding down the fort. So join us later today, 1 p.m. Eastern for Wealth Webinar. It's going to be a really good one. We have Ask Me Anything going on later today at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. So we'll see you guys at those shows. Otherwise, we'll be right back here next Wednesday morning for What the F Happened, for another full week of crazy news. And maybe, Chris, you can bring us back some news from Croatia. We'll see what's going on.
I will try to do that. And I love that comment from It's Him. You need families, not children. You need both, but families and love, that's definitely what we need. And the most important things in life are the things that don't cost a penny. They are free. So let's focus on what matters. Let's go out there. Let's take names, kick some ass, and we'll see you on Wealth Webinar. I won't, because I'll be on a plane, but you guys can all enjoy it. It'll be a good one. Thanks, and we'll see you very soon.